All right. Let's move off of video games for the time being and talk a little Obi-Wan Kenobi because some promotional artwork for the show is starting to show up out in the wild. Out in the wild, if you can believe it. This
Wow.
image was spotted in a store. For those of you that are
Nice.
listening, it says Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi on the left. Then you see Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader. They're sort of their heads, and then sort of in the space between their heads, you can see them with their sabers raised, swinging at each other. Looks good. Looks cool.
You know what this gets me with, and it's a good thing I didn't see this in stores first, and I saw this here because I would probably have a freak out on the middle of the floor. But like the thing about this is very reminiscent of the Revenge of the Sith marketing. Very reminiscent of it. And so that like really hits me because I remember as let's see, I would have been a 13-year-old when that marketing hit and your stories started having all that the duel of the fates. No, actually it would have been Battle of the Heroes essentially. Imagery with the Mustafar and backgrounds and the Obi-Wan clashing with Vader, so yeah, this is gonna be very much reliving the early 2000s when we start seeing this stuff everywhere, and that's again probably how all the original trilogy people felt, and when like the special editions were coming out, like it's gonna be like that.
Thomas in the chat says Revenge of the Sith marketing is nostalgic to me.
It's very, very, very true. I just am glad they're not going to be using those like clamshell bubble packages anymore because those are annoying as heck.
Nah, those are nostalgic to me.
As someone who collected the backs, it just destroyed the space I had in my house. Because
that's why you buy two. That's why you buy two. One to open and one to save.
Well, that would have been even worse because then I would have had another action figure on top of the bubble.
And
package.
This is why I've pretty much given up action figure collecting because it's so much involved and so much money. This artwork though, it feels this. I mean, it's weird how we're in this era and we have. As prequel fans, I feel like we've been fed a lot of good stuff, but this is like the first promotional art where it feels very prequel inspired, obviously, because you're dealing with two prequel actors with, prequel characters. I mean, not really prequel characters, but they are prequel characters in a more prequel-esque scenario. The Revenge, the Vader on the far right looks very Revenge of the Sith era. Marketing kind of gives me that vibe. Also just their poses in the lightsabers, like it feels like what Obi-Wan's doing right there feels a lot like what like Anakin did in like Attack of the Clones. Maybe a lot of what Attack of the Clones artwork would use him. So that's just very cool. And also there's looks like there's some flames behind good old Ben Kenobi there. So there's a lot in this that I'm like, this is just gorgeous. I want this as a poster on my wall right now. I would. It's a good thing that I didn't see this in the wild. I would have stolen it.
That's why they're not in stores. Ben took all of them.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys have said, if you took the Obi-Wan Kenobi logo off of this and you slapped the Revenge of the Sith logo on it, nobody would be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
This is basically the same, but. Yeah, it looks great. It does feel like a throwback to a different time. It's funny to see the duel in there, right? Like before we've seen any of it in the trailers or anything, any teases of it. It's funny, right? Because I don't know about you guys. When I think about this show, even though I know that Kathleen Kennedy called it the rematch of the century, the fights between Obi-Wan and Vader are like the furthest thing from my mind.
Same.
There's so much else that I'm thinking about with this show that like to see this image and see that part of it front and center, I'm like, oh yeah, that is going to be the thing that they're pushing with this show. It's not, the spiritual and mental journey that Obi-Wan goes on between episodes 3 and 4.
That's really what I'm thinking too. Is like, this is the strongest image for marketing. Like, Obi-Wan just contemplating life in the desert is not something that's very alluring image to use. So I get
even the trailer though, it did not feature the duel, which thinking back on it is kind of odd, kind of interesting. I wonder if that Revenge of the Fifth, or what did we call it? There's always a bigger fifth trailer.
Yeah.
I wonder if whenever that trailer shows up, I wonder if that the fight there will be a little bit more
I think so.
Front and center. Which is interesting because, like, again, you watch that trailer. If you're not thinking about the duel, it doesn't feel like anything's missing, right?
No.
Because you're getting this sort of story about where Obi-Wan's at. We're getting a little bit of Luke stuff. We're getting all these other details. The Vader of it all is sort of left to the imagination, and that's something that, this poster art seems like it will pick up on some more.
Yeah, just watching that trailer, you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be Obi-Wan, and he's watching over Luke, and he's gonna have to avoid some Inquisitors. Like, that's the plot of the show. You look at this, and you're like, oh snap, rematch of the century. Like, that's more of what Kathleen Kennedy was talking about. So, like, maybe this will be more in line with what the rest of the marketing will be, what that trailer will be, what all the TV spots will be about. We're gonna see. I'm curious how much of it.
I don't know. Based on the way they marketed the Book of Boba Fett, the rest of the marketing may just be some pictures of some trees and then the title card.
Some pictures of some sand.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah.